Hello there, Atheist Junior here, your friend and humble narrator. And as the title says, I'm doing an open mic stream for literally no reason. So we're just going to see who sort of jumps in. Since Amy and James aren't streaming tonight, I am filling up the role of the Dollar General version of Midnight Ranting. And tighten in the stream. You can tell me if my audio is like way too loud, because I want to make sure I'm not quiet like in the other stream. Tighten your anus, since Oz isn't here. So I recently was in a a live chat on YouTube, and I saw somebody with the username Harry P. Ness, and he was in all accounts and purposes, he seemed like he was a theist. So I asked him, I was like, are you a bizarro version of David P. Neff? But it wasn't until I was on a stream where Peter actually read that username out loud, and I realized, oh, I've been fooled. So, boy, was my face red. That's all I can say. Do you guys like Airheads? You know, like the candy? Because I sure do. Oh no, my audio is usually good. It's, you know, I sort of messed around with my setup in my bedroom, because usually my audio is good, but I like literally just record like sitting on my bed, like holding my Blue Yeti. But I have like a big room, and I think I have some soundproofing foam on the walls, but I think like sitting on my bed with all the blankets and like pillows really dampened the sound, but it didn't seem very professional to me. So, I sort of moved over to a different part of my room. Like I bought this office chair off of Amazon with some of the money that a patron sent me in the form of an Amazon gift card. So I bought nothing but stuff for the channel. And so I set up like a little desk thing with like my laptop and my microphone and everything. I wanted to be all fancy like Amy, but the audio was not as good. So now I'm back to my original setup, but I guess I'm going to have to tweak some things. It's just that I don't like holding my microphone because it fucks up the audio. Like in my interview with Aaron, the audio is pretty much perfect in that interview, except if you listen with headphones, you can hear me like sort of fumbling with the microphone. I really should have bought a I don't know what they call it, but like the metal arm for the Blue Yeti, like Amy has one where it holds the microphone in place so you're not like fucking with it. I really should have got one of those, but one of my patrons was generous enough to send me $100 Amazon gift card. So let's see, I got an office chair. I got the soundproofing foam that's on my walls. I got a windsock for my microphone, and I got these little USB converters. Microphone arm. Yeah, I saw one I thought they were like super expensive, but I looked on Amazon and I saw one for like $20. Although I don't know if it's better to shell out the cash for a more expensive one or not. So I got these USB converters because I basically make my YouTube videos on my phone. And the only problem it was that when I got my microphone, I can't plug it into my phone because Oh, hello, CJ Young in the chat. Thank you for your nice comments about the channel recently. I appreciate it. Yeah, my phone is USB Type-C on the bottom, and the Blue Yeti just has like a standard USB port. And so I mistakenly thought that if I got an adapter that allowed me to plug the microphone into the bottom of my phone, then I would be able to record audio onto the phone with the Blue Yeti, which doesn't work on Android. Like, yeah, I agree, Jer. I uh, I had to assemble the office chair that I got, which was an ordeal, but you save a lot of money doing it that way rather than like going to Office Max and buying a pre-assembled chair, because I was looking at chairs, and like gamer chairs are super expensive. Like waiting room chairs for like a doctor's office are like $200 for one chair. Not even like a rolling office chair, just like a standard like chair for a waiting room. Like the chairs were so expensive. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I like the chair that I got. You know, uh, I'm hoping, because I told like the people on my Patreon that the money that I get from Patreon, I'm only going to use it towards my YouTube channel, just for things that go to the channel. I know there are some YouTubers who have a lot of patrons that will use Patreon to like pay their rent and stuff. Um, but I'm not quite there yet. Although I don't have to pay rent. Yeah, assembling the chair was, I mean, it wasn't hard, but it just took a long time. And I now know the importance of using washers, because I didn't realize, and how to put the washer down, like, because I fucked up when I was assembling the chair, and I like put the washer like under the like plastic hole. It's supposed to go like on top of it, and then you put the screw through the washer, because that way it protects the plastic from getting like ripped and warped by the screw, which is what sort of happened, because I screwed it in like too hard and it kind of like dug into the plastic. And so I had to like go back, and because I assembled the chair and it was missing two screws in the back that I didn't screw in, and then I redid the other two screws, and put the washers in the right place, because the chair was assembled fine, but the seat felt a tiny bit like wobbly. But now it's like now it's much better. Yeah, I don't know if you guys watch Vosh, the bread tuber. Um, I think he makes great videos, but in one of his videos, I think he said something like he was looking at his analytics, and he said that he in the last month he had made like $4,000 just off of YouTube Premium, like not even Patreon. I don't know if YouTube AdSense and YouTube Premium are separate payouts, but you know, my channel can't be monetized for a little while, um, because let's see how many subscribers I'm at right now, because honestly the number is constantly changing. I'm at 264 right now, so that's like a quarter of the way to 1,000. But the interesting thing is, because you need 1,000 subs and you need 4,000 hours of watch time in the last year, I think. Is that accurate? In the last 12 months? I'm pretty sure that's accurate. Vosh. Yeah. Okay, but here's the interesting thing. In the last 300, so I have about basically 250 subs, but in the last year, I have about 2,500 watch hours. So I'm like, I was kind of surprised when I saw that because like that's not that far off. If you think about like considering the amount of subs I have, like that's basically halfway there for the watch hours, even though I'm only a quarter of the way there for the subs. I know Amy's channel should be there pretty soon. But honestly, like the speed since basically May the 1st, which is I debated Kent Hovind on May the 1st, I think, or the 2nd. And since then, like my channel has been, I don't want to say blowing up, but it's been the traffic on it and the like engagement has been way higher. But I've also been working a lot harder to put out content. Like I'm literally going around on Twitter and asking like bigger YouTubers, like, "Hey, you wanna come on my channel so I can interview you?" Like Aaron Ra did it. Like that makes me legitimate, right? But maybe I don't know if I shouldn't divulge this, but I was literally just messaging on Twitter Hemant Mehta, the friendly atheist, and I just sent him like a message saying like, hey, if I really like your content, and I've done some interviews on my channel with theists and atheists, and like I just was lucky enough to get an interview with Aaron, so I know you're busy, but I'd love for you to come on the channel if you can. And he messaged me back real fast saying, "Hey, message me in a few months in the summer, and I'd be glad to come on." I'm like, "Okay, wow, like, thank you." So that I wish that he could come on sooner, but I was really surprised that he got back to me so quickly because I wasn't expecting that. Without like I don't want to name any names, but when my channel was like barely getting off the ground, MathPig, you don't know the friendly atheist? Well, you should look up his channel. He makes really good videos. I'm surprised you haven't heard of him. When my channel was barely getting off the ground, before I ever did my first open mic, which was on Amy Newman's channel, I was going around trying to find people that would collaborate with me, or some like a live stream that I could get on. And I reached out to a YouTuber, Antjer. I should put the comments on the screen. I don't know if he's doing that. He basically said that he was real busy, basically, because he told me to email him in August. So, that I guess that should tell you. But probably, well, yeah, because he said to email him in the summer. So I guess that would be when he's on summer vacation, right? That makes sense. So yeah, I guess so. So I reached out to a YouTuber who's bigger than me, several thousand subs, and this is somebody who I had sent super chats to. This is somebody who I had made thumbnails for their channel before. Somebody who considered me like a loyal viewer to their channel. Like they had actually said that, and I basically asked them, like, because like, would you be interested in having me come on this live show? And the person pretty much gave me a sort of weak excuse, and then said they'd get back to me, and then they never got back to me. And then I asked them a second time, and they basically ghosted me twice. So, you know, I'm just glad that the channel is doing better now because I don't have to like sort of beg people like, please collab with me, please. Grumps. Okay. Hello, Grumps. I'm not familiar with you. How are you doing, sir?
You're not familiar with me?
I don't think so.
Oh. Grumpy old cuss.
Oh, were you in the chat?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't put 2 and 2 together. I'm bad at math.
So am I. I just saw
you are?
posted the link someplace, and I decided to join you on screen.
Yeah, I guess I should post it in the chat. So you're bad at math, huh? I'm going to post a math problem in the chat, and I'm going to see if people can get it because I was struggling with this earlier.
Well, whatever works for you, man. No,
so how are you doing?
I was just going to say, getting one of these microphone arms is really nice.
Yeah, I bet.
Let's see.
Do you have one? Oh.
Got one here. That's fairly nice. It was well worth the investment. It's
what
a
kind
Yeti
of microphone.
It's it's the Blue Yeti Slate.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that one. The one I got is called like the Blackout, I think.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh yeah. Hello, Nick.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. A little tired, but not too bad. But well, listen. You're lamenting the monetization process on YouTube. I said that's a hang. I gotta join.
Well, I mean, I'm optimistic since in terms of the watch time, I'm not that far off. Like,
well,
I mean,
yeah,
in comparison to the subs.
The watch time's the easiest part, though.
That makes sense.
I mean, you have to keep in mind, and I don't want to be too cynical about this, but the reality is YouTube does not want to monetize you because it doesn't really help them any. They just lose money, really. That's not entirely true with super chats, so on and so forth. Okay, if you can get monetized, you get super chats, but they lose. They definitely lose a percentage of their revenue, except for the channels that are big and drawing super chats and stuff like that. So they set the bar artificially high, and you need to keep in mind you're not making their product. You don't make YouTube's product. YouTube's product is the viewers, and their customer isn't you. It's not your audience. Customers are the advertisers, and so you are actually the lowest on the totem pole for YouTube, and that's an unfortunate reality, but that's the way it works.
Yeah. I mean, how YouTube for its entire existence has been operating at a loss of profit, even though it's owned by Google.
I'm not, well, being owned by Google is still a reasonably recent thing, but I don't remember whether it's at a loss or I don't remember ever. Actually, I'm not sure.
They're actually, I think, working now where they're making a profit because they've gotten into the streaming TV, and they charge like $60 for just the basic package. So,
I mean, I've been looking at other platforms because I have my own objections to YouTube, and there are a few others, but realistically right now they've cornered the market on live streaming where you can actually make some kind of income. So you can't do this the same way on Venmo or Daily Motion or anything like that. You can do it, but now there's some up and comers that are trying to compete, But right, I mean, I think about this. They take 30% of the super chats, 30% off the top on. I mean, that is insane.
Yeah.
And they can get away with that because they have a monopoly, and because the people who. The reality is, I think people who create content on YouTube mostly do it for some kind of passion for it. They may want it to be a business. I certainly want to do it professionally. But when I say professionally in that particular sense, what I mean is I want it to be a professional product where people sit there and say, okay, this isn't just a couple of hacks getting around shooting the shit. There's something of quality here. So I think most people want that on some level. They know that. And so what they're really doing is being the middleman between making sure that your content draws in their product, the viewers, so they can sell those eyeballs to the advertisers.
Yeah.
Okay. And because of that, they do a number of things. So they make these unrealistic bars. The watch hours is easy, and I think the watch hours was probably the very first bar that they put up. Just about anybody can clear those watch hours. It's actually not that hard to do. The subs is the issue, and I think that's there really just to protect their income. But they also they are very cagey about what gets a channel demonetized and thrown out. They've gotten much better about it, but they still tend to be somewhat cagey about their rules, about the appeals process, and so on and so forth, so that they can't get nailed down and they can act almost completely unilaterally. As soon as there are rules that are written, now they've got a problem where they can be sued if they violate those rules. So they're just like, well, but they won't even tell you if you get demonetized. We got hit. We got hit by I forget who it was. We got hit by HBO a while back, but that wasn't it. We got hit by somebody a while. We got hit by CBS. No, it wasn't even. They didn't even tell us it was CBS. I found out later it was CBS. But we got hit and we got a show taken down, and they wouldn't say why. And I'm sitting there trying to figure out. Okay, I've got a Deadwood poster in my background, and there's it's Deadwood, so there's a hooker with her legs splayed up in the air and so on and so forth. But that's been on YouTube. Even that image has been on YouTube. So it's like, okay, was it the image? Was it a brief? It took me forever to figure out, and you only get a shot at the appeal, and that's because they really couldn't be bothered to deal with it.
Yeah, I real quick, I just want to say that I've just confirmed the next person who's going to be on my channel to do an interview is Erica, aka Gutsick Gibbon. So I am so excited about this.
Nice.
Yay.
That's one I'm going to look forward to.
She literally just told me on Twitter right now. So because I've really been wanting her to come on. So I'm glad. So look out for that. I'm gonna talk with her and Peter and try to get that happening in the next couple of days, and I'll have Peter produce it to make the stream look fancy like my last video. But I totally forgot what you guys were talking about because I've been messaging on. What were you saying a second ago? Oh yeah, demonetized. I got obviously my channel's not monetized yet, but I got a community guidelines, not a strike, but
a warning.
Like a warning, because I took a clip from a old, really old Kent Hovind video where he's talking about Hitler and talking about supposed quotes from Hitler. And the video has been on YouTube for a while, and I uploaded a clip of that video and got a warning for that. I did something wrong.
Now, is that okay? So if that was your first community, now you actually get one sort of free warning, but that stays up forever.
Yeah, okay, I know. The freaking thing won't go away. It's so annoying.
We got our first, and we've been playing fast and loose for a while. We got our first one of those about 2 months ago from CBS. It was our first community one. They still wouldn't tell us what it was. I finally figured it out, but there's a lot of arbitrariness to it, I think.
It would just be nice if they told us what it was that we did wrong so we can not do it again.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, I was able to figure it out, but it took me days. And by that point, there was no. I had already blown the appeal process. I couldn't re-appeal it. I just appealed it based on I thought it was the Deadwood image. But I think MathPig said a number of things in the live chat there, and I hesitate to ever quote MathPig or give him any credibility of any kind whatsoever, especially since he was just being very snarky to me. And yes, MathPig, I am watching the live chat, and I saw what you said, you son of a. But at any rate, but he brings up a very good point. I don't want to say it's easy, but it's not actually all that hard to get 100,000 subs if you don't really care about your content. If you do, you're screwed. And I'll tell you, there was a buddy of mine, and he got into some trouble with this, and then he ended up closing his channel. He had been trying to get monetized for about a year, and he hadn't exceeded about 500 subs. And then one day, and he just did a politics channel, so it was nothing but politics.
Yeah.
And he really knew what the fuck he was talking about. A little dry, admittedly, but he knew what he was talking about, far better than I. And so he did this show. He had about 500 subs, and then one day he starts attacking a reasonably prominent member of the community. Just hauls ass after the guy. Now, the guy had fucked up a lot of shit, so it wasn't that hard to do. But all of a sudden, he's getting 50, 60 subs a day from people who hate this guy. And I took my buddy aside and said, okay, you've got a problem. And he says, you know what? Everybody else has been monetized. I've been waiting forever. I'm going to go after this guy. The community kind of hates him anyway. I'll go after him for a couple of weeks. So I'll hit monetization, and then I'll go back to my old stuff. I said, you cannot do that. This is the crack cocaine. What's going to happen to you is you're going to hit this point, and you're going to be actually getting significant revenue and super chats and all this other stuff. But if you wake up and say, by the way, I'm going back to what I really want to be doing, which is politics, you're going to lose them all. Yeah, you'll be monetized, but the people who have been faithful to you, that 500 that you built, they will never come back. So now you may be to 1,000, you may be monetized, but you're watching live will be 2 or 3 people. And so you end up with this. There are no shortcuts anyway. So the long story I'm trying to say, and thank you for chiming in there. And I know I'm dominating, so I apologize. But long story short, and he ended up quitting. And the reason he ended up quitting is because that was the situation he ended up in, and it was all drama, and nobody wanted to talk to him about anything but drama. And he's just like, wait a minute, I don't actually like drama. Yep, but he got monetized. He got monetized after he started that process. He got monetized in about 4 weeks.
Yeah. That's the bad thing that I've noticed with a lot of channels, that they're struggling. They suddenly do something that's slightly toxic, and they get follower after follower after follower. Subscribe. It's just amazing that people really love to eat that stuff up. But if you've got any type of conscience in you, you're not going to do that type of content. Well, and even if you're willing to sacrifice your morals for a short, it won't work. It won't work because the damage you do in the end is you're fucked. But Jerry Springer, take a look. How long was Jerry Springer on air?
That's true. But he did have his final thought at the end where he would get wholesome, and kind of if I don't know if it's relatable to what you were talking about, but like if you know about like a few years ago, like 2016, the internet blood sports with like oh god, what's the guy's name? You know what I'm talking about, like Medicare and like that whole. I can't think of any of these people's names for some reason, but that the live streaming where people would like get in like arguments with each other and talk to like what's that alt-right guy's name with the guy that got punched?
Oh, the guy that got punched.
Richard Spencer. Yeah, they talked to Richard Spencer. Andy Worski. Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, do you remember that era of YouTube?
I vaguely. It was well before my time, but yeah, I've heard about it.
Well, yeah. Andy Worski, Sargon of Akkad, Styx Hexenhammer 666, who I used to watch, but the guy is a nut job. Like he had some good political takes during the first Trump election, but after that, it was just garbage. Those three guys did a live stream where they were talking to Richard Spencer, and it was the #1 video on trending that day. And Internet Blood Sports was a thing. It was the Ralph retort with Ethan Ralph, where it was basically like, sort of like, StreamYard, except it would be people just arguing and yelling and calling each other cucks and talking to literal Nazis and white ethno-nationalists. And the viewership was massive. It was massive. But all of these people kept, saying Nazi racial slurs and stuff like that, and violating the TOS. And one by one, they got banned from YouTube. They got demonetized and got their payment processing shut down. And it all went away, But for a time, that was like literally the most popular content on YouTube. If you go by the metric of that Richard Spencer interview. But yeah, so you can't make content that's directly assaulting people basically forever. Eventually it's going to catch up with you.
I know people are putting that one to the test, but all right.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me suggest something, because it sounds like it sounds like, and maybe I'm reading it wrong, but it sounds like you're feeling sort of a little down about the challenges of this. And I think it's harder than anybody who does YouTube ends up finding it harder than they thought it was going to be.
I mean, honestly, I'm thrilled about the growth of the channel.
Okay.
I mean, I was just talking about my progress so far towards monetization, and I already have a couple patrons, some of whom have been extremely generous to me already. Like, I don't know if you were in the stream for that part of the chat, but one of my patrons sent me a $100 Amazon gift card to buy stuff for my channel. And that's like, I don't have to wait for YouTube to monetize me to get that kind of support, Yeah. I had several people sign up to my Patreon because they thought I did really well in my debate against Kent Hovind. And, my subscribers have been going up. I feel like that's going to take a long time to get to 1,000, but I'm, it is kind of, irritating, like, because I know it's going to take a long time before that can happen with the channel. But compared to how slowly I was gaining subscribers just a few months ago, like, I'm really happy with how the channel is doing. So, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was any number of, I was going to make a poor joke, and then I saw Randolph came in, and then I was going to make an even worse joke, and then I was just like, okay, I'll leave Randolph alone.
Come on, it's fun to play with Randolph.
It is a lot of fun to give Randolph a hard time. That's kind of fun. What's really fun is when you give him a hard time and he apologizes for it. But which isn't as hard to do as you can't do it for the sport, because there's no sport in it. He's just going to do it. Yeah.
I just want to respond to this comment from Something from Nothing. I made a video about Kent Hovind. Is Kent Hovind getting sexy massages at Dinosaur Adventureland? And I photoshopped a thumbnail of Kent getting a massage, and it had boobs in the thumbnail. And I did another video about Kent, and I had a picture on my phone of Kent sitting next to this woman who had like a large chest. It had nothing to do with the video, and those were like my highest viewed videos for a while. So clickbait thumbnails definitely work. That's something that has never changed since 2005 on YouTube, or whenever they implemented custom thumbnails. So yes, I do agree with that. I'm trying to, I don't really do that anymore, but boobs in the thumbnail will always work.
I'll have to remember that. Yeah. Well, next time we have Aaron Raw on our show, I'll make sure to put boobs in the thumbnail. Oh, come on, that was funny. But
I didn't hear what you said. I was just surprised because we have Gibbo in the chat. It's a Gibbo alert. I was so sad because I always watch Amy Newman's live streams, and I've been on them a bunch of times, like probably at the same time as you've been on, Nick. And I randomly like clicked on to her show like a few days ago, and I thought that it was, just in the middle of the stream. And then I heard Erica's voice, and I was like, "Holy shit! I have to jump on the stream because she's on here." But it was like, we're midnight ranting, and the show was like ending. I was like, "Oh, damn it!" I was so disappointed.
Welcome to my world. Every time that I get home from work, she's going, and we're going to do our outros now.
Yeah.
Well, and then the notification system is really screwy too. I don't get the notifications until like the show's like 2.5 hours in, and I like show up and I'm just like, wait, what?
Yeah, that's something that they really need to work on, because I don't think they really want to give the small fry any attention.
Small fry.
The smaller. Content creators.
Oh, no, keep going. I'm writing all of this down. I'm going to tell Amy everything. He called you a small fry.
I'm just thinking about French fries now.
Oh, that's fine. She'll just give me a bad time.
I'm making content.
Like curly fries or...
Well, at least you're not recording my voice and using it on a soundboard.
Hold on. Well, no, this is my channel is changing directions, man. What I was talking about, though, this was a how-to. What you need to do is you need to go straight to dumpster fires, straight to like community drama, and I'm just going to start making it. So let's see. Amy's a small fry.
Did you write down boobs in the thumbnail?
I did. Oh, well, that was the first.
Okay.
That's what got me thinking. All of a sudden, I realized, you know what? Maybe this is doable.
Yeah, I've been making more just regular thumbnails now, where I will sort of, I don't know how people do the thing where they they will get an image of somebody, and then like I know how to remove a background, but then people, they always outline the like person in like white, like a thick white outline. I'm like, how do they do that? Is there an app that does that? Because I can't like painstakingly draw an outline around the whole thing. Like I'm just too lazy for that, So I have an app on my phone called Photo Studio because I will not pay for Photoshop, and I'll usually like take a screenshot of somebody, like if it's like Kent Hovind or something, and then I'll use like the erasing tool to get rid of the background, and then I just have like Kent on there, and then I add all these effects like light or rainbows or like techno smoke, fire and ashes. Like there's all these cool effects you can add, and it's crazy what you can do with apps these days. Like it's awesome. And then I have this other app called Canva where they literally have templates for YouTube thumbnails where the thumbnail's already made, and all you have to do is just change out like the text and a couple of images. So, it's a lazy man's dream.
I was about to admit how I do it, and then I realized I'm probably going to get murdered. People are serious about this. I'm going to make a confession, dirty confession. You guys are going to think I'm joking. I'm going to make it. There's going to be an attempt on my life. I do have the Adobe Suite. There's a lot of people, artists in particular, hate it because it's predatory towards artists, and it's you can't buy it anymore. You cannot buy it. You can only basically lease it. When I first got it, it was $25 a month for every single Adobe product. So that's all the editor, the video, Photoshop, the whole 9 yards. So okay, done. And the amount of stuff that I get, I can't do it any other way. So it's just like, yep. I hate Adobe. I'm totally against what they're doing, and I am paying them begrudgingly. I'm spitting on every doll. I am paying them in pennies smeared in excrement. I guarantee it.
I would just love for somebody to explain to me how it makes sense to pay a subscription service for an image editor.
It doesn't. That's why I use the free one, GIMP.
Yeah, I like I like Photo Studio so much. I've paid for the free version of the or for the paid version of the app, but it's like a one-time fee. And I'm somebody who's like an old man. Like I'm set in my ways. Once I get used to using a certain app, like I will just stick with that because if I try to switch to something like I've used GIMP before, and it's just faster for me to use what I'm used to. And it's like I have all of my images saved in that app already, and I'm just like used to it. I have it customized to the order of the editing tools I use, and my workflow is just easier that way. But does GIMP have an Android app also?
No.
Well, there you go. See, I do everything on my phone because I literally have $100 Chromebook that is a piece of shit. So I don't really like editing videos or editing photos on there. My phone is honestly way faster than my computer.
Well, you probably spent a lot less on trying to get your stuff going than I have. So.
Oh, Christ. Oh, God. I don't want to do this.
I mean, I got AVS for video editing and all sorts of things. So.
Really? I use an app called UCut.
UCut's good.
Yeah, I mean, for a free app, it is extremely robust. And again, I have the paid version just because you get a couple extra things like filters and video effects, and I make meme videos quite often, so I need those video editing effects. They're very important. And also, I just want to take this opportunity to say that Erica has some of the best memes I've ever seen on her videos.
Well, now that you're getting some people in here.
Erica and I are releasing a video together on Wednesday. I think you might enjoy.
Oh, okay.
Well, now that you get some people in here, I'm going to go ahead and dive out. Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
I like your avatar more.
Oh, this one?
This one more than the other.
Yeah, it's less edgy.
Yeah, the other one reminds me of a teenager, but this one seems a little bit more classy.
Yeah, that's the aesthetic that I'm going for.
Which one? The teenager vibe?
Yeah, the teenager with like a Nirvana shirt and like jeans that have like torn up cuffs on the bottom and like Converse shoes. And he probably smells like marijuana and Axe deodorant spray.
Are you well, I'm not gonna insult you by asking your age, but I just want to say Erica is a traitor to me, so she's dead to me.
Erica is my hero, sir.
Yeah, well, she's dead to me, so.
Oh, what happened? Hold on, because I'm documenting drama. Not for any reason. Anything you say about Erica is just between you and me. Go.
No, I'm mostly messing. She and I are supposed to talk about natural selection.
Limestone? Oh. I thought you were going to say limestone.
I don't know anything about limestone other than that acid can eat it and make.
I'm sorry. Do you have a problem with limestone, sir?
Oh, dear Lord, here we go.
Well, it has a problem with me, I guess.
Because I don't want to start rumors, but I heard that Erica beat somebody up because they said something bad about limestone.
Well,
do you like Philosophy, Atheist Jr.?
It's not something that I go out of my way to talk about, but I can certainly see the importance in it, and I've been making an effort to learn some more of the terms of philosophy.
But do you like science? You like science?
Yeah.
Or what do you like more? Like out of the various disciplines, you like biology?
Yeah, I like talking about evolution and phylogeny and the biodiversity of animal life on Earth and the genetic relation between animals, because it's so hard for creationists to explain, and it makes them squirm around in their seats.
If I like, that's pretty devious. if I had to study biology, I think I would prefer the microbiology, biochemistry, molecular biology, cellular
I will
biology.
say I'm not a big fan of genetics. I find it so difficult and complicated that I struggle to understand the terms, and it's just too hard for me, honestly. And for some reason, like I think Matt Powell and these other people have made a compilation of Erica saying that saying like I'm not a geneticist, and it's like okay, like yeah,
I wonder.
like
I did ask Erica about these like sort of videos and these jibes and whether it affects her. But if Matt Powell attacked me, with it wouldn't even feel. I just wouldn't even notice. I don't know. That's how like insignificant I think like all of that movement is to me. Like, it's just
I
really-
wrote it. I
nobody
wrote a
cares.
tweet. I wrote a tweet recently that said that I have a confession to make, that Matt Powell is actually my son and that he's my proudest disappointment. He's just so baby faced.
Yeah, I
Like
just don't.
I kind of want to give him a hug
I think
and
there are
take him
other
to Build a
things that
Bear.
are like far more interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
You know.
I'm a number one Ken Hovind fan personally. So
Oh, even more interesting than him. Like, who do you? What is there any Christian apologist that you respect?
respect. I like Cy Gart.
Okay.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah, and Hugh Ross is not bad. I like some of his stuff. William Lane Craig, I find him a little bit pretentious, but he's certainly intelligent and he's got some interesting points of views. Although I definitely don't agree with him on a lot of things. Oh, I will say, Danny? Do you know about the channel Theoretical Bullshit?
No.
That is a channel that talks about philosophy in a way where I could definitely understand it and enjoy the content because he simplifies it.
Oh, that's
And
good.
I'm a simple man. I honestly I listen to Darth Dawkins and I don't know what the fuck he's saying. Like when it comes to a lot of philosophy,
Well,
I just
that's
don't know the
not-
terms.
That's not.
Like
That's Darth's fault. That's not your fault.
Well, and if you ever
Yeah,
figure
I
out what
agree.
Darth is saying, explain it to him so that at least he can figure it out too.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I don't. I'm very interested in philosophy, and half the time I have to really.
But even like earlier, like you were talking about like dualism and like these other things, there are just so many terms that I don't know. Like I even made Google Doc where I recorded a bunch of the basic definitions of terms in philosophy and wrote out the definitions just so I could have like a thing to refer back to.
Yeah, I know that
But
you said that you would never come on my channel, but if you ever change your mind, I have a playlist called informative videos, small informative videos that go over very basic philosophy terminology. You might.
Well, I don't know if you're talking about a tweet I posted recently, but I deleted that tweet if that's the one you're referring to.
Was it about me? Was it about me? I don't know. I thought I saw this on some YouTube comment or something. Or
I probably. I just said that I wouldn't have you come on my stream, but I deleted the tweet because usually, like, if I have a disagreement with somebody, and I'll be mad, but then I'll talk to that person, and then I calm down. And
yeah, I don't really look. A lot of people get mad at me. It's not like something new for me. But and I don't even blame half of them. But but if you're interested, I present one of the three most famous dichotomies in philosophy in very basic terms. It's in basic terms, and they might help you. Like the difference between necessary and contingent, right? The difference between
I like one of the things you said that I liked was when you said something about how talking about whether or not God exists isn't really an argument that you can talk about using like evidence and science and data. It's more in the realm of philosophy. And I think I agree with that because I see so many like atheist videos where they're talking to a theist or talking about the existence of God, and it just seems like they're framing the argument in the wrong way, or coming at it from the wrong direction. But I don't know how to like articulate that really.
Yeah, it's I mean, like it's tricky, isn't it? There are things that if I were to see, I would believe in God, but I'm pretty convinced that no matter what I see, I don't think I could count it as evidence. To me, it would be like if I saw, you know, you know Pine Creek by any chance?
I've heard the name before, but I will say that the Old Testament has very specific miracles that they said happened. So,
well, yeah, this is related to that. Pine Creek on his show offers a way of hey, Mr. Christian, I'll be a Christian if you do this. And what he does is he wets his napkin and says, if you pray in the name of Jesus and for this wet napkin to catch on fire, and if it does, I'll be a Christian. And I confronted Pine Creek on this, and of course he got annoyed. But I said that that's not a good if that happened, like so someone prayed in the name of Jesus and that napkin lit on fire, that wouldn't be a justification for being a Christian because it could have been some like naturalistic explanation for it, or he could be hallucinating, or
well,
he could be. Go ahead.
I want to run something by you and see what you think of it, because I've had this thought where, and I will say that even my good friend and producer Peter may be guilty of this, but I see so many atheists, even like Matt Dillahunty, like big time atheists, that do this argument where they'll be talking to a theist and they'll be like, well, if I made a claim that like a leprechaun that came out of my ass created the universe, would you believe that? And I'm just like, I'm so sick of this type of argument, because it just seems to me like it's blatantly disrespectful to the theists to compare like their beliefs to that. And I know you've probably heard something like this before, like pixies, or like it's always some type of like mythical creature, and it just makes me roll my eyes. Like I'm just not a fan of it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. I hear it so often that I kind of desensitized to it, but I agree with you that well, what the theist wants to say is that God is disembodied and that he's immaterial. So the idea is that like it wouldn't be nothing physical. There would be nothing physical if there was just God. So when someone talks about the flying spaghetti monster or pixies or unicorns, we assess those require our concepts require them to have like physical bodies. So it's not it's a false equivalence to compare something like a unicorn.
I've been on record before saying that I personally think the flying spaghetti monster is cringe AF, and now that Richard Dawkins has been publicly shamed, I'm hoping that will be phased out, because
there's only one common, like, when you can invoke the equivalence in one case, I think, and that's when they're using God as an explanation. You could ask them like, okay, can you tell me why God is a better explanation than, let's see, some like a some other kind of crazy hypothesis that we both reject. So let's just accept that fairies that's a bad explanation for why there's DNA. We both accept that's a bad explanation. Now, why is it that God is a better explanation than fairies, or some kind of alien, right, with respect to why we have DNA and why it's sequenced the way that it is? That's a fair equivalence, because what's happening there is saying that, do we have a reason to think God explains something rather than a reason to think that something other than God, a non-God explanation, explains the phenomena we're talking about? So, and I don't think they have a good answer to that. But it's true, though. If you want to be sensitive to the theists that you're talking to, just a mention of a fairy or anything like that, they're going to get pretty defensive.
That's how I feel, because I feel like when you make this argument, it seems to me like you're trying to, I don't know, I don't want to say like score points with your atheist audience or like make them laugh, but it seems to me like you're making fun of the person that you're talking to. and that's not really the type of angle that I go at on my channel. Like
Yeah.
I've talked to theists, like this girl, Bread of Life, who's I found out she was a younger
The Sweet Parts,
creationist,
right?
and she was a nice person, and we had a nice conversation. Now at the end, when I found out about some of her creationist beliefs, like the conversation sort of went south, but I didn't start mocking her. And honestly, like I came into Speed's stream and they were watching one of her videos and they were kind of making fun of her, and I don't know,
Yeah,
it made me a little bit uncomfortable, to be honest.
There. I think I just left. I didn't like that either. They just, I mean, some, you know, I don't know. It's hard to talk about this without talking ill of someone. But the idea is that, like, I am only really abrasive when I sense dishonesty or pretentiousness or hand waving. You know, if I sense that, I get pretty vicious. But
sorry about
like,
the echo.
you know, like when Speed
Oh, it's
of
okay.
Sound was in your channel telling me that I wasn't, like, I was like a flawed atheist, or I don't that bullshit. You know, that stuff I will get. I'm like a viper, right? When people do that crap to me. But
Well, I know I had said some similar things, but that's why I sort of corrected my position in that stream, because I don't want to tell somebody that the label that they use to describe themselves is incorrect. Like that just seems kind of silly to me.
Well,
But what I said was that, like, this is just how I think other people perceive you. I'm not going to say that you're not what you say you are, but
that's nothing wrong with that. With you,
which I think is more nuanced than what Speed was saying.
Right. I didn't have a problem with what you were saying, because it's true that, like, so I don't blame people for assuming that I'm like a theist when I attack atheism or something like that, or atheism.
Yeah, and I don't want to try and control somebody's behavior just because like you're not acting enough like the atheist that I think you should be. Like, you know, people have their, you know, they're adults, like they can do what they want, but you know, I do think that Speed can be a little bit blunt sometimes.
Well, Speed and I have a long history of fighting, so that's another thing that didn't help. Like, you know, I go in his channel and then, you know, things happen. He ends up muting me or kicking me out of the room. And so that there's been like months of that. And so that's part of what explained your most previous channel. But anyways, Randolph, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I have a bit of a sore elbow. I'm probably have to go see physio about it.
Did you finish your construction, or are you just taking a break?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Was it because of?
It's too late right now. I on weekdays I can only work till 20 hours, and then on Sundays I can only work till 1800. That's the city regulations on loud tools. So that's why I shut down at that time. I didn't know that before. That's why I was working till like midnight. And one of the neighbors let me know. I was like, "Oh no, sorry about that." So anyway, it's all okay. So it didn't bother them too much, but they were letting me know, and I thought, oh yeah, I better follow the rules here. So, but anyway, it's like, you know, it's I've got part of the roof up. I have to take the other part down and replace it because it has OSB instead of plywood, OSB sheathing, and it's the way they installed it. Well, one problem is that the way they put the roofing tiles on was wrong, and water got in, and it's rotted a whole bunch of it. So I'm just going to remove all of it and replace it with proper plywood. But the other problem is they put the sheathing right up flush against the other sheathing. And the way you're supposed to make it is you leave a little gap about 2 millimeters in there, because if there is any kind of water damage, the wood will expand a bit and then it'll contract. It needs a space to expand into, because if there's no space there, it'll buckle and then it'll damage your roof even further, or your walls will get damaged that way. So that's why they always have that little 2 millimeter gap between all the pieces of plywood and whatnot, and the professionals do it. So they didn't do that, and I can see places where it's buckled and messed up the roof. So yeah, we're just gonna pull it.
Oh, Randolph, I think you're echoing again.
I'm echoing?
I'm not hearing an echo. Atheist, you sound like you're echoing. Randolph, I don't hear an echo with him.
Oh, because I heard my voice echoing.
Yeah, your voice sounds like you're in a room that has solid walls that echo just slightly.
Yeah, I heard an echo with you too, but I'm not with Randall.
Yeah, it was just for like a second, but I was going to say like I recently got a new ladder, and the old one we had was like older than I am, and this new one is like so nice, and I've been so like excited about this new ladder and like so happy. Is that something like you've experienced? Like you get a new tool or like piece of like equipment?
Oh yeah, I was borrowing the neighbor's hammer drill to hammer in to cut holes into the to drill holes into the concrete, so I could put in the Tapcon screws to secure the frame of the foundation, and it's a slow and arduous process. And then it started leaking oil. He didn't care. It was one that he found anyway. So I gave back to him and let him know the problem with it. He says, "Oh yeah, somebody else he lent it to had the same problem." Anyway, and the shaft is also bent, so it kind of wiggles a lot more than it should. So I went out and bought a new one from Rigid. And when I use that now, instead of it taking 20 minutes plus to drill a hole for a piece of rebar, it takes less than 2 minutes. It's like 1 to 2 minutes. It's fantastic. It's like cutting through frozen butter. You know, it's just it's fantastic. So yeah, I totally understand. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What a big difference a new drill made. And new drill bits as well help. But yeah, these are masonry bits that we're using for that. That's hard stuff to drill through. But it works. It's amazing how the technology is these days.
Yeah, the old ladder was just like an aluminum piece of crap, but this new one, it's got this sort of interesting design on it where it's like supposed to be like 3 ladders in one, but the way that to fold out like the legs, like you have like the front legs and then the other part of the second legs, they're like locked in.
Okay, yeah.
And it has like this locking mechanism where you pinch in these 2 plastic pieces, and then that releases the second part of the leg, and then like it locks it back into place.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm describing correctly, but it's just like so much more stable, and like I'm not like scared when I'm on this one. So I feel like I'm becoming like an older man now, because these are the things that bring me pleasure now.
No, I think it doesn't matter what age you are. If it can make things more safe and more convenient for you, that's a good thing at any age. I
had somebody call me old as fuck recently for the first time. So
ignore them. I do what I do. I'm in denial about my aging. Hasn't worked out as I'd hoped, but I'm still in denial about it.
I try the same thing. Doesn't work.
Yeah, but you might as well keep denying it, right? Cognitive dissonance is your friend.
I'll tell you, I honestly, people ask me how old I am, and I usually don't know, and I have to calculate it, and I always say the same thing, which is, look, if it would stop changing every year, I'd be able to lock down on it, but otherwise,
I like that. Stop changing every year. I'll have to use that line. That's good. That's really good. No, I've got an adjustable ladder too, and it's kind of heavy. The newer models are much lighter, so I'm sure if I bought a newer model, I'd enjoy it even more. But I was up doing the roofing, and then the ladder, I accidentally kicked it out under me, so I'm hanging onto the 2x4, and then I let myself down gently, and everything's falling over down below, but my elbow's a little sore from that, so I'm going to go see physio to get that taken care of. Yeah.
Well, I'm just glad you're not seeing a chiropractor like Standing for Truth or Ken Hovind.
Oh, those I'm not into woo, so no, I don't see them. I don't see witch doctors. I don't see astrologers. They're all in the same category as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I saw one video where Kent Hovind was talking about like, somebody was saying that chiropractors, are no good. But I've been to my chiropractor several thousand times, and he does a great job. And I'm thinking, why would you have to go back to him that many times?
Yeah, well, here, take a look at, there's a link I put in private chat just now. You can share it in the public chat if you like. It's from quackwatch.org. They have a whole subsection on chiropractic and all the problems with it. And like, subluxations is not a scientific or medical term, yet they talk about it all the time. They can't prove those things are real. So there's a scammy aspect of it right there, right off the bat.
Okay, I'm going to paste a link to this this ladder just so I can show you what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I'd like to see it. I like
It
tools.
was expensive, but yeah.
Yeah.
Was
Oh,
that
you
was
know,
that sounded like Frank Hill? Was that
Hank,
that
Hank
David, or was
Hill?
that?
Yeah, Hank Hill,
Hank
Bobby.
Hill.
You're right.
Yep. Oh, there you go. Okay. I
Bobby?
can't believe I picked up on it. Okay.
Oh.
as somebody who's from Texas, I can say, because Mike Judge is from Austin, Texas, Hank Hill is extremely accurate when it comes to how it portrays Texas and the people that live there. That's one thing I love about that show. It's very accurate.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, I really like that show. I thought it was a nice change from the nasty cartoons that were out on the air for quite a bit before it. And it's just like, he's a nice guy, and the whole family are nice people, and most of the neighbors are nice. It's pretty down to earth
Well,
kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. One thing I like about Hank Hill is he's not, he's not perfect, but he's obviously not like Homer Simpson. Like, Hank Hill is somebody who, like, that he has like his house insurance and like his lawn in order, and like his lawn taken care of, and like he
Yep.
doesn't go to a mechanic. He works on his car at home, and he's just like a handyman. And I admire that responsibility that he shows.
Yeah, and he's decent with everybody. And I have a suspicion he's the kind of guy who would not vote for Trump. This ladder looks great, by the way. That's better. That's got features that I wish mine had.
Yeah, it's it can be adjusted into all different, like, I haven't tried these different things. I've just used it like as is, but like I had to get on like the third rung today to get like a light bulb that was really high up, and it was a little bit scary, but I definitely felt a lot safer than I would have been on like that old wobbly ladder.
Yeah.
And like, this ladder is expensive, but you can't really put a price on your safety.
Yep. So yeah, having some really good key tools is important. And I'm just trying to see if I can find the one I've got. I don't think it's even on the market anymore, but I'm going to try to find a picture of it to show you.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. Is that like a saw? A key tool? What is that?
Who are you talking to?
The tool you were talking about before.
Oh, the one I talked about was the hammer drill by Rigid.
Oh, okay. Hammer drill.
Yeah, it's because what'll happen is it can go in normal drilling mode, or it can go in hammer mode, in which case it's pounding down while it's rotating, but rotates slower while it pounds. And this one pounds so fast it makes it sings as it goes. So.
Am I the only one who's really starting to get uncomfortable with this conversation?
What, you have some objection to tools? You're not a propane man, are you?
It's not the tools. It's talking about pounding really hard, and just can somebody get a thesaurus?
I only pound my wife peg leg, sir.
Oh dear Lord.
That voice is really good.
I should have just. First of all, it's actually really good. I don't have the screen on, so I can't see that you're talking. And I hear it. It sounds like the things on television. It's really good.
We're having fun with it. Yeah, you got that voice really. You nailed it. Whoever just said that.
That was me. I'm gonna have to change my avatar to Hank Hill.
To Hank Hill.
Yeah, I take pride in my impressions that I do. Yeah.
Well, here's one that I found is similar. I'll just show you the picture. It doesn't. I don't have the piece for standing on across the top, but it's very similar to this one, the one I have. That I just put the link in the private chat. So it's served me well all these years. It does good. And I've used it on various client sites too when I'm doing network cabling installs and whatnot. So. Yeah.
I was looking at this chiropractor link.
Yeah, that's a lot of good info, and it's done by actual scientific-minded people with PhDs and all this stuff in the relevant fields. And at the bottom of each document, you'll see a whole list of references and citations. So they're really good about all that.
The only thing, and of course this isn't evidence for really anything, it's just interesting, and I like interesting facts. This shouldn't be taken too seriously. But my grandfather was a surgeon, and he started to lose control of his hands.
Oh yeah.
And so he I genuinely can't even remember. I can't believe I can't remember what was causing it, but I know he went to, and he was a well-known surgeon in Massachusetts, so he could have his pick of anybody who would take a look at it, and they all said there's nothing anyone can do. We could try surgery, but it's more likely to make it worse than better. And so his days as a doctor were quickly becoming numbered. And then a World War II buddy of his said, I got back and I had these issues from when we were in Germany, and I had all these injuries, and I had a chiropractor look at it, and then I fixed it. And my grandfather wanted to smack the guy. I was just like, no. So finally he was so desperate. Nothing else. He's like, what? And it was actually some kind of chiropractor. My sister has the whole story, so I should get all the details. But at any rate, goes to the guy finally out of desperation. The guy says, oh yeah, I can fix that. But does 2 treatments, and all of a sudden he's doing surgery again. And he said he won't confirm that it works, but he said from that point on he ain't gonna say it doesn't either.
So the problem is that the way the chiropractic stuff works, it's not consistent. So some chiropractors will.
It's not consistent like propane.
That was yeah.
And the joke that goes around is if the chiropractor actually does do something that's efficacious and not causing negative side effects, then they're probably really just a physio pretending to be a chiropractor.
Well, and if you do enough really crazy shit, one day it's going to at least look like it worked. There's going to be a correlation. You're going to do something, and then the problem's going to be fixed. It might even be you happen to fix it out of just sheer friggin' luck.
Or that person that he saw has a talent for helping people, and so he's. But the actual chiropractic stuff, as I understand it, does not work.
Oh, myself as well. That's why I said But it was funny because he was a deep skeptic himself. But bring up chiropractic, he wouldn't say a bad thing. He wouldn't endorse it, but he wouldn't say a bad thing about it.
Yeah, it's. I'd like to see that be done consistently in the chiropractic field, in a statistically significant outcome kind of measurement. And my understanding is it doesn't come up that way.
Good luck with that. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like iridology. I looked into that too because I was taking an interest in these things when I was younger, and I'd look into them, and I kept finding that there's inconsistencies here and there, and I just wasn't going for them. But because I was trying to look at them objectively, and iridology, no pun intended, there is a study of the eye. And the idea is that the person who invented it when he was a kid, he noticed an owl in the animal hospital with a broken leg had a mark in the eye. And so once the animal was healed, that mark went away. So of course, from that, he drew a conclusion and didn't try to eliminate a coincidence, right? So, and then started thinking, the eye maps out all your health problems. The problem is, when I did the research into this, I found there are like at least 9 or 10 different iridology charts that disagree with each other. So first of all, how do we know which one's the correct one? And yet every iridologist claims that theirs is the correct and there are no other charts.
It's like, I know which is the correct fuel to choose, and it's clean burning propane.
It's propane. Yes.
Bobby?
The coal ain't right, I tell you what.
I think my son is gay.
How dare you talk about Bobby that way? He has to make up his own mind on things,
It's okay. I love LGBT. I tell you what.
You do anything long enough, you're gonna get a number of coincidences. My favorite was the woman who accurately predicted the assassination of JFK, and she predicted it ahead of time. She called up the White House and said, the president's going to be assassinated. Don't let him go to Texas. He goes to Texas, he's assassinated. The Secret Service show up because they want to know how she did it. All of a sudden, she's popular.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oh, no,
the liability of making accurate predictions sometimes.
Yeah. And and she was just like, look, I'm a psychic, and there you go. And she got real famous for a while afterwards, and she maintained that fame for quite some time. But the thing that she didn't tell people, and it took a while before anyone figured out, was twofold. First, that she had predicted the assassination of previous presidents before, and this was her 5th prediction, and this one just happened to be right. And then second of all, of course, is that on average, there's about 400 to 450 predictions coming into the White House every single year saying that the president's going to get assassinated. If he ever gets assassinated, a couple of them are going to be right. It's just by nature of the fact that you have these things coming in. So, it's just like, she rode that and she got famous. And she wasn't as famous. She wasn't, what's her name? Mama Celeste famous, but she was famous.
More famous than I can't even say it. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Well,
listen. I was getting worried about the doppelganger effect, but I guess I won't have to worry anymore.
Well, so Hank,
there's no doppelganger to clean burning propane.
Hank, I got no problem with propane. Hank, I like it, but have you ever considered nuclear power?
Good, because I'll ban you.
Oh, I'm asking if you've ever considered nuclear power.
You know what?
Sir,
I think
the only power I use is clean burning propane.
You know what I think? I think Nick's been drinking the butane again.
Hank, you didn't answer my question. I just want to find out about. Nuclear power. It sounds like it's a good alternative to propane. You just hook your house.
Now you're supposed to pronounce it nuclear, like Mr. President George Bush.
I don't think you can use nuclear power to cook hamburgers.
Shh! Don't tell Hank that. I'm just trying to get a rise out of Hank. Okay. I want to get far as with the propane.
I think Hank left. He's going.
Oh shoot! We lost Hank.
I got Bush Jr.
I could switch over to Ken Hovind.
Oh dear Lord! Don't do Ken Hovind.
I laughed when George Bush Jr. pronounced it nuclear.
Everybody, no, I didn't laugh. I cried.
It's like Homer Simpson.
Yeah, because he has power.
When he's on a nuclear sub.
Yeah. I told him we should go. Listen, I told my wife, this is the problem. We have a president who's afraid of the library. Sorry.
Yeah, my kids would have told him it's not pronounced library because berries don't lie. Of that, they always know how to pronounce library.
Yeah, I'm going to reference The Simpsons again when they go to the apple cider plant, and Lisa is annoyed that Marge can't pronounce foliage right, and Marge is like, "I can't escape Lisa, my little walking library."
my drive Lisa crazy. Yeah.
My two favorites, though, Lisa's talking to Homer, and he's talking about all the meats that he likes, and she goes, "Oh, they all come from the same animal." He's like, "Oh yes, there's some magical little animal where you can get ham and pork and bacon, and then there are fairies." It's just like, oh dear Lord.
I like the one where he's talking to Marge, and he's saying like, "Oh, I'm going to live in a magic house on Gumdrop Lane," and he leaves the room, and then he comes back and he's like, "Oh, by the way, I was being sarcastic." And Marge is like,
"But he likes gumdrops. That's teasing. That's teasing Homer."
Oh,
well, my wife.
Thanks to Aunt
we were talking about like construction tools.
Thanks to Aunt Jer in the chat for pointing out the spelling of iridology.
Mm-hmm. I know we were talking about construction tools, and one of my favorite jokes from The Simpsons is from a Treehouse of Horror episode where I think Bart and Lisa, they go to the house of the witch from Hansel and Gretel. She's got a house made of candy, and then Homer comes looking for them, and he starts eating everything in her house, and he takes a bite out of this giant candy cane, and the witch says, "That was a load-bearing candy cane, you big oaf," and then like the house starts collapsing.
They did the same joke. Funny. It was when Ned Flanders' house gets destroyed and the community comes to rebuild it, and they all just sort of put it, and then there's like a perspective issue where like the whole house is literally the perspective is going into the vanishing point.
Yes.
They can't.
When they rebuild the house and then Ned like goes off yelling at people.
Yep, but Todd doesn't like one of the posters in his room, so he tears it off. He goes, "I wouldn't do that. It's a load-bearing poster."
Oh yeah, that's true.
And
That's a great joke though. Either way, I don't even mind
It
who
is.
used it.
My wife and I have a thing too, which is I'd love an omelet right about now. Which is anytime she says something I don't want to hear, that's what, and we get that
Yeah.
from The Simpsons, where the FBI, Scully, Mulder, they show up and there's an alien thing, and Homer saw the alien, but nobody believes him. He goes, well, hey, at least my wife believes me, you know. Because actually, I don't believe you, homie. He goes, oh yes, it's great to have the support of my wife. You're not listening, homie. You're only hearing what you want to hear. I'd love an omelet right about now.
Yeah, and I like speaking of Homer and like eating eggs. I like when Marge becomes a cop and Homer is spraying pepper spray on his omelet.
That's right, I forgot about that.
And then his eyes just swell up and turn red.
So yeah, I thought the earlier episodes, the very first episodes of The Simpsons, were better because Homer Simpson was actually a lot smarter. But then they kept making him dumber and dumber over time.
Like the very first seasons are pretty rough in my opinion.
They're
But
rough.
It's right about when you get in between seasons 4 and like 9 is like the golden era. Those seasons are like perfect in my opinion, especially season 8 and season 6 are like every single episode is like a 10 out of 10 for me.
And their spin-off show Futurama was quite good.
Yeah, the writing on that show was sometimes even more clever than The Simpsons. One of my favorite jokes from Futurama, I hope I don't butcher it, but it's when, you know, Zap Brannigan, he's always asking Leela out on a date, and I guess she like agrees to go out on a date with him, but he wants to go out to dinner and eat for like an hour, and she's like, oh, I'm only gonna go for a half hour. And then he's like, but we can get clams on the half shell. And she says, no, on the quarter shell. I don't know why. I just love that one.
Well, Zap Brannigan always not wearing pants. And it's just.
Oh, yeah.
I debated with a guy who didn't wear pants.
His servant, Kip.
Maybe he was inspired by
Brannigan.
Zap Brannigan.
I really like
Amy.
I really like Phineas and Ferb, in part because it's something my kids can watch. It's not Dora the Explorer, so yay. But that aside, it really is. There are so many adult jokes, and there's jokes about like quantum mechanics. There's jokes about solipsism. There are all these jokes, and half of it goes over the kids' heads because they do it in a way that the kids can really enjoy it too. And there's Baljeet is this really smart kid, and he's always being a smart ass. He's literal about everything. So somebody just comes up and says, hey, what's shaking, Bacon? He goes, you realize that Bacon does not shake. He goes, Sir Francis Bacon? He goes, I stand corrected. It's just like this kind of exchange where it's just like, and it's this great show, and also because they did a Star Wars episode that was great, and the main antagonist who's just a clown. He's kind of the bad guy, but he's not really a bad guy. He's a clown. He becomes Darth Vader, and they call him Darfenschmerz, and he does a song. I dropped it on Amy Newman's Discord. The song is where he's singing about being the lowest of the Darths. I was like, this is Darth Dawkins' new. This is not from now on when I see, I'll just hear that crackly voice of this guy singing a show tune about being the lowest of the Darths. So I was like, that is Dawkins' new theme music to me.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen my video where I talk to Darth. But, I talked to Darth Dawkins, and I think that Darth actually kind of liked me. Either that, or he thought I was really impressed by him. It was weird.
They could both be true, but I'd certainly bet on the latter.
Yeah, I know the second one is true.
I had one interaction with him, and that was plenty. So it's just like, okay, thanks for the chat. And then after I did, I got a friend, Mouty, who Randolph knows him. Mouty's like, I'm going to go talk to him. And Mouty is like the king of reasonableness. I was just like, I Christopher. Everybody calls him Mowdy, but so he goes to Mowdy goes to talk about. It's just like, oh God, and like everybody I know, Titan's there. We're all eating popcorn to see what happens. And he has Darth singing "Kumbaya" halfway through. It's just like, only Mowdy could fucking do that. I couldn't believe it. But yeah. That was good. I don't. Darth Dawkins. You know, I wonder. I haven't seen much about him. I haven't heard much about him. I spoke with him once, and that was really one of the only times. I had never even. But my brief impression of him, probably not all that far off from. He's a younger version of what's his name, who just did the debate with. Dear Lord.
Nephilim
Hovind.
Oh, Hovind. Okay.
Yeah, because Hovind doesn't believe it. Hovind absolutely doesn't believe a word of it. He knows that the Earth was. But this is how he makes his bread and butter. This is how he makes his money.
Wait, he doesn't believe in a word of what?
Anything he says.
No, Hovind believes a fair amount of the stuff that he says. Like,
I highly doubt that.
Like Bill O'Reilly, then.
Like, the claims that Kent Hovind makes, like about the Earth and evolution, he thinks those are true. When he says, evolutionists think they came from a rock, he knows that's not true. He's just making fun of people. But his own claims, he does believe.
No, I would strongly disagree with that.
Well, when you're surrounded by yes men, constantly telling you you're right, and you're such a narcissist that you cannot ever admit a mistake, in my opinion, Kent believes a lot of his own BS.
Nick, why do you think that he doesn't believe what he said?
Any number of reasons. First of all, let's just acknowledge one thing, which is he is a fraud in other areas. So he's just tax fraud, he's going to jail for that.
Okay, that's a compelling point. All right.
A few times I've spoken with him that wasn't in a debate, and he and I have just shoot the shit. He's a very different person, and
like Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah, and all of that comes down. So when he and I debated, he had just had a bad experience on a non sequitur show. He had just had a bad experience with Aaron Ra, and so he wanted to get to know me first. And I had been told by everybody who knew him and who had any experience with him that all of it's an act, that it's all a fraud. He's doing it for the money. He makes the money off and he's a con man. That's
and
what he is.
And doesn't pay the taxes on it.
Yeah. And I refused to believe that. And then I was prepping for that debate, and I
want to respond to you, Nick.
Please.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I have to respond to your point that you were saying about him going to jail for tax fraud. This man went to jail for basically 10 years and came out and still believes that he didn't do anything wrong. He still believes that.
How do you know he believes that?
Because he says it all the time that he was innocent, because he didn't do anything to try and stop committing the tax fraud. He believed that he didn't do anything wrong to the very bitter end. He still believes he didn't do anything wrong.
He argues that he believes that. There's a difference between him saying he believes that and him doing whatever it takes, including arguing the new sovereign citizen thing. There's a difference between him having the mindset of a fraud, which means that he will take a position first and then do whatever it takes to justify, including the position, I ain't going to pay taxes. I
could give a different example.
Please.
Kent has said on videos before that snakes, like rattlesnakes, for example, are poisonous. And I left a comment correcting Kent where I said, no, you mean that they're venomous. And you'd think a teacher would know the distinction between the two. And to this very day, Kent still calls rattlesnakes poisonous and says that it's common vernacular to say that rattlesnakes are poisonous. Even he will not correct himself. He will not admit a mistake.
I've met plenty of people who won't do that either, and I've met con men who won't do that. So let me ask you
something subtle here. This is interesting. Mm-hmm.
Well, now let me ask you another couple of questions. Shoot, now I lost my train of thought. Give me a sec. I'll get it back.
My apologies.
Oh, that's all right. And it's not like it's a huge like life or death matter. And I used to think he was, but I had to do a deep dive because I was new to the subject and I was debating him on his channel. I didn't want to get my ass handed to me on his channel of all places. And yeah, I started researching just also him personally for any number of reasons. And I started to really, and the more people I talked to who had debated him, I was just like, yeah, okay. So here's a question, and let's separate out what he says his views are from just the man himself. Does he strike you as at least a reasonably intelligent human being?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. He will still make claims that obviously cannot be justified and that appear to pander to a base that is not capable of that level of intelligence that I think he has. And
well, hang on. Intelligence can be augmented by drinking Kool-Aid.
Yes, it can. But when you talk about certain claims, like the snake one, he's smart enough to know the difference between those, and he's smart enough, and he plays people. He plays people very much like a. So I did the debate. And he starts offering me CDs. And he says, "How would you like the Dan the Dino CDs, DVD set, this whole 9 yards?" I had for this debate. I had also gotten a autopsy arranged for both him and I at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute of a female whale to find the
Yeah,
boat.
I remember that.
Yeah. So, oh, that's right, because you had seen the debate. So, and then he said, "Oh, let's go do that." And you can tell when he said it, he had no interest in it.
Mhm.
And part of that you can sit there and say is he believes the Kool-Aid, but he's smart enough to know already I wouldn't have done it if we didn't know what he's going to find. So there's no intellectual curiosity, and the reason is because he doesn't want to challenge it because he can't. And when he starts plying we'll get you some CDs, we'll start doing this and that, I was just like, I am watching a huckster. I've seen this before, and it's in sort of everything he does. And he is smart enough to realize he cannot win the sovereign citizen, even if he were correct, even if morally, ethically, and even by the law he were right. He's going to lose that one. It doesn't stop him doing it, and it doesn't stop him selling things that he has to know cannot be true. So then the question isn't, is he a fraud, but how far does it extend? And I think it extends to the whole ball of wax. Oh, yeah, and that was the other one, the PhD. He knows it's not level to a PhD because he's not that stupid. He's not. You will not convince me he's not that stupid. So it's about something else, and in part it's about also drawing fire, because I don't think he has that much of an ego too that he really cares about it, but he knows it's like a magician's tool set. It's just one more way to distract and throw things out. He is not so stupid that he doesn't understand and probably agree with most people's objections, but he knows he can get away with it, so he does it. So he's Dr. Hovind, and I don't buy that he's stupid enough to so his belief and support of that is either ego, but I don't see it being ego because he doesn't lose his temper. Yeah. So it's fraud.
I've seen Kent lose his temper before.
Oh, I've seen him lose his temper. It's not about the PhD thing.
Okay, let me give you a more recent example. Unless you were going to say something.
That's a very interesting assessment, Nick. You've studied some human psychology, I'm guessing.
Right. My BAs were in psychology and philosophy. My father was a criminal defense attorney, and I met a number of his clients, and I wrote a book that was the memoir of a therapist, a psychologist at Walpole Supermaximum in Massachusetts for 10 years. Now, for that biography, I did that full time, 2 years, including interviewing a number of people there that are probably amongst the most dangerous people alive on the planet today. And combine that with some experience from my father's stories of what these people are like and who they are. Combine that with a background in psychology, law, and all that other stuff. I'm not an expert, but I've seen it enough that, and listen, I'm a little slow as it is when it comes to because I tend to apply. I am what many people call unreasonably reasonable. I apply so much charity that it's like people like, Nick, can we hit you over the head with a hammer now? But when I finally was convinced, I am convinced, and he follows all the patterns. The other one, there was There was we had talked about the non sequitur show had come up, and Kyle Curtis, who got into all sorts of trouble there. There's an interesting thing, the criminal mindset, which is this very sort of short-term thinking, which is solve today's problems no matter what the cost, and if it causes new problems tomorrow, we deal with it, and it's just this inability to project into the future.
I
Truly,
have to stop you there.
yeah.
Because I have known criminal types who are very long-term thinkers. So I don't think that to say that's a criminal mindset, as long as you're not meaning that that's the only criminal mindset, then I'm okay.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not by any stretch of the imagination. And there are criminals, who are, mastermind thinkers. Al Capone, was a long-term thinker, but he was also a short-term thinker in some ways. If somebody got in your way, first thing you do is you kill them and you move on. Now.
Well, he's quick. He's decisive. He's fast.
Yes. Yeah. And there are ways to compensate for sometimes sort of more of that short-term thought, but that is something that you find in the criminals that get caught more than not. It's going to select for the criminals that get caught because they're also going to be much more short-term thinkers.
I think it's a mistake to think that they're either all short-term thinker or all long-term thinker. Like there are short-term things they'll do to get the results.
Yes.
It's going to be a combination.
Okay. Let me give you a more recent example with Kent, though. But
let me give this quick thing.
Can I just say to Randolph real quick? I think. Do you have headphones, Randolph?
I can't wear headphones. I've got auditory processing dysfunction that causes issues for me. Sorry.
Okay.
And every time he puts them on, I start going. Just to mess with him.
Do you know I was just going to ask him do you know if the settings on StreamYard, if you have echo canceling turned on, because I think that's echo cancellation in audio, because I think that's what's causing the echo.
You're getting an echo?
Yeah,
Well, actually,
I think it's because you don't have headphones on.
But we're hearing
your speakers audio.
I think it may be if he mutes. If he's turning on the spot with the mute button. That might. Oh boy, that was night and day. I didn't realize how bad it was.
That's why I was saying the audio. It's the audio that's coming from Randolph's speakers. We're hearing it back since he's unable to wear headphones.
Turn my microphone down. See if that helps. I can.
Yeah. Well, you could turn the speakers down on your computer, I think.
Well, no, I've done that, but I need to be able to hear you guys. But I'll turn the.
Okay.
That only helped a bit. I can still hear you talk. I'd much rather if you can keep turning that mic down to like 0 and I can't hear you anymore. Problem solved.
I'll just keep muting and except when I'm talking.
Yeah.
So the only other interesting guy I wanted to mention, and then because I know Atheist Junior really wants to give me another example, but the one that I remember was a guy, one of the smartest guys. Oh my God, smart guy. But ended up, this story could get a little too brutal. So he ended up, his sister-in-law moved in with him, and actually it wasn't a sister-in-law because they weren't married, but him and his girlfriend. At one point, he decides that she must be flirting with him. He ends up forcing himself on her. She eventually says, I'm going to tell, that, you've done this. I'm going to tell my sister that you've done this. And he says, well, I can't end that relationship. I love this woman. She's supposed to. So he kills her. Then he realizes, of course, he's going to get caught. So he chops up the body, does all these other things. The girlfriend finds out. And then she's just like, well, I got to go tell the cops. And he's just like, okay, now she's just being unreasonable. So he kills her. And then, the whole, and there was at every point, there was this blind spot to the fact that his solution to problems was causing more problems down the road. For every problem, there would be maybe other solutions that would be less. And it was just this. No, I have this, and I agree. It's not the only and I do think you're right. Al Capone probably did not suffer that, but it is a common thing that you'll find. And I think for criminals who are caught, it's a disproportionate one because the ones who are caught are going to be smarter thinkers. And that was the old saying, go up to a police officer and the police officer says, yeah, most of us cops were pretty stupid. The criminals are just a lot dumber. But at any rate, so Atheist Junior, I'm sorry I dominated there, but please continue.
Yeah, well, that's interesting what you were saying. I think maybe at some point with that guy, it factored in like, well, I've already done something this bad. I might as well just keep going at this point, you know. Uh, but what I was going to say is with the example recently of, I think Steve or some people at Kent Hovind's compound introduced him to QAnon, and basically the first time Kent heard about this conspiracy, he instantly believed it, and like he now believes it. So with
Well,
Kent,
again,
I've
he
noticed
reported believing it.
when he decides he wants to believe something, he latches onto it and doesn't let go. So like I know he believes QAnon. So I guess it's hard to say.
Well, he says he does, but again, and again, I whenever somebody latches on to, I question whether he latched on to it because he believed it or he said, "Well, here's another thing I can do." We were talking about drama, right, and stirring up drama. What if he's just got a very good nose for drama? And what if he's got a very good nose for what his audience likes and what they will follow him for? And when he sees something like this, he says, "Oh, this is going to get people interested. I believe this now," because I don't think he's stupid enough to just believe something new just like that either. But he's practiced at making those kinds of quick decisions. And when he sees something that is going to help him get more attention, especially a lunatic fringe that like QAnon that is got to, now he's got to feed the beast, right? Because he can't keep saying the same thing to everybody all the time. His numbers are going to go down.
Well, he's been saying the same things for a long time, but Kent hasn't made very many videos about QAnon. But I will say that it certainly fit in with his already conspiratorial beliefs about, you know, abortion and children being harmed by, you know, Democrat politicians and stuff, and, you know, all of his beliefs. So I've just noticed, like, when Kent read a YouTube comment that said that Aaron Ra's name was Larry, when all anybody on the internet ever knew was that his first initial was L. That person didn't know it was Larry, but Kent just decided, oh, this comment's correct. His name was Larry. I'm going to call him Larry, and he won't stop now. So I've just noticed that Kent, when he sees something new that he wants to believe, even if it's wrong, and he's shown that it's wrong, he'll just latch onto it like a pit bull and doesn't let go. Now, the reasoning behind it, I'm not sure of, but I tend to take Kent at his word that he believes his own bullshit on some things, not on everything. Like I said about the, people think they came from a rock thing. I think Kent knows that that's just him insulting people, but like the whole 6,000 year Earth and like 6 stages of evolution thing, like I think Kent believes it. And, you know, it works with his worldview and, you know, with his stream of income. So it helps to, it is possible to convince yourself of a lie if you keep telling yourself it's true long enough, I think.
Oh, I agree. And one of my biggest, you know, I'm very interested in the I was going to say the grievance studies. No, the Clergy Project and the deconversion of priests, and how many of them say that they actually, like, especially in the number of them that start to deconvert actually in seminary, because they're starting to see how the sausage is made, and they're like, this can't be right, and then they start to deconvert there, and then after a couple of years they realize they don't believe anymore, but they've only got one skill and they're good at it and they get paid for it, so they stick around, and they stick around for and until they finally either decide that they feel guilty about it and they want to leave, or they sit there and say, well, you know, I can still help people and I can just pretend to believe. But my suspicion is, I think he started out as a huckster young early on, and then he snagged onto this. And like I said, I didn't always believe that. It wasn't until I really started the research for my debate with him that I sitting there going, you know what? It's just the way he talks, the way he does things, and the way he goes at things is indicative, in my view, of someone who's scamming.
Well, what about his religious beliefs? Do you think that he believes those, or he's just sort of faking it?
I suspect. Well, I mean, he may be a sort of base level Christian, which, you know, is sort of the average Christian in the United States. But I don't think he believes that in young Earth creationism. I'm pretty sure he doesn't believe in the flood or any of that stuff. You know, and what he believes past that, I really don't know, and I'd be unable to lock into a fine. But I'm really quite convinced he doesn't believe any of that stuff. And I'll have to think about. I haven't thought about him. He's all of a sudden, big again, at least in this community that So I haven't really thought about him in a while. But
Have you? I think we'll just have to agree to disagree. But have you seen my debate with Kent?
I only caught a part of it, and I was going to catch the whole thing, and then I have such a backlog of videos that I have not caught up.
Did you see my opening?
No, I did not.
I would say if you're just gonna watch part of the debate, definitely watch that. Do you know which part of it you saw? I'm just curious.
I came in when Kent Hovind was. Oh, let's see. I don't even remember. I dropped a whole bunch of comments because he had briefly mentioned Wales because that he had done that before, but it wasn't. What was the next line? I don't even remember. My memory recently is just not. I don't remember what I came in.
He was talking about the whale bones. Randolph, have you seen it?
No, I haven't yet. I try to keep up, and it's hard to keep up with all these different channels. But yeah. I'm going to try to take a look at yours. If you send me a link in the private chat, I'll put it in my queue, and I'll probably end up getting to see it then.
I will.
I'm curious, Nick, what do you think of Kent Hovind's son, who, the way it looks is that he stole the ministry from him when he was.
That is what it looks like. Which, by the way, would also.
I don't know if I agree.
I mean, if he did, I haven't studied his son or what happened, but from my little understanding of it is, it looks like his son started to get better at it than he was, and is starting to wrest control of it from his father. And if that's the case, and by the way, that can happen in complete legit organizations as well. So, but it would, in my view, would still be. Now, what was his son? I don't even. So my insomnia has kicked back in.
Eric
I'm just trying to remember what I read or knew about him. So when I average 3 hours of sleep a night for a couple of weeks, my memory starts to really screw with me. It would take me a while to refresh about his son. I do remember the impression that he had just sort of yanked the thing from his father, and I remember watching him go into a court. I just can't even remember. No, it's lost in my mind. But I remember getting the same impression from what you just said. If I see his face, I might remember better.
So you think it's fair to say Eric learned from his dad, which I guess would be kind of obvious anyway. Boy, that must be quite the relationship.
Well,
have dinner, kid. Family. All right.
Well, I think Trump's got the same thing, and his kids aren't yet old enough to cause him that problem. But Trump always seems to have taught them about winners and losers. And when you see the interviews with all the Trump kids, and you see them talking about and one of the kids, I forget which one, but one of them basically has sort of separated off from all the others. And he said that, Dad would always talk about, you either win or you lose, and this is winning, this is winning, this is winning. And he was just like, I don't view life that way. I don't think that you can that it's wise to view everything, absolutely everything, as an adversarial position. And so there was some biography done. Again, it's starting to get late, so I'm fading. But they were talking about this kind of view and how Donald Jr. Really has that kind of drive. And the reality is, at some point, you're going to look like a loser to your own son, because you're not going to be able to maintain that thing 100%, that kind of drive and that kind of forward momentum with your business. And one day he's going to say, I could probably do this better than he does. And it's not fair. I don't want to do it to dear old Dad, but this is what I learned, and he was right. And his time is done, and now it's my time to take over. And I think that's what he's breeding in his own kids, and they haven't gotten there yet, but I think they will. And I think it seems like that's what happened with Hovind's kid.
I think it's. I think you're right. It's not a. I think most people don't view the world in terms of winners versus losers. That's it. It's quite a destructive thing that Father Trump has done by instilling that in his kids, his attitudes, and he seems to be pushing that on the political sphere as well. You know, as his book about negotiation, which is a joke. It's not like it doesn't. It's not negotiation. It's not win-win by any stretch of the imagination. It's all about beating the other guy at all costs, and so it's just he's so short-sighted in that, and so he's got all this debt apparently. It's like, okay, so lawsuits and all that stuff stacking up against him. I remember John Oliver, I think it was, or Stephen Colbert, did some kind of investigation into that. I think it was John Oliver, and they only looked at about roughly a quarter of all the U.S. states, and they already identified 2,500 lawsuits against Trump, mainly his companies. And it was like, wow, that's a lot of lawsuits, and that was before he was elected. I think that they did that. So if he's got that many lawsuits against him, and a lot of them apparently were just people that hadn't been paid.
Yeah, he does not pay people. He absolutely does. That's been around for a while, and he always comes up with a good excuse as to why not to. But then he wrote to. I'm trying to remember what was the documentary that interviewed him and did a great job with that. Or didn't interview him, but they showed interviews of him and they showed clips from the book, and they just built this profile of the entire family. And he talked about how he learned this from his dad, but. I think his biggest problem is going to be the IRS, and they're quiet, but they've been working on this for 10 years, and it looks like they're getting reasonably close to done. And it turns out what he's been doing is he's been, I forget what it's called, but when you basically write off losses, and he's been moving the losses from year to year so that he can always write off more in losses than he's actually made in income, which means that the IRS ends up giving him money back.
Oh, deferrals.
What?
Is the word deferrals? Is that the word you're looking for?
I think that may be it. Yes, that's it. I think that's it. Again, I have to. If I don't refresh my memory, I'm now precisely. Oh, that's right. I am. Well, I'm not really a year older today, but I am today. I don't know how old I am, but I'm today 1 year up on the marker. But at any rate, every time I get older, my memory gets worse. At any rate, so he's been doing that, and if he gets nabbed on all of that, the amount of money, somebody calculated how much money he's gonna owe the IRS. It started with, okay, I'm starting to reconstruct this here. It was the New York Times came out with a whole bunch of his taxes, and it looks like they've got all of it now. It looks like the New York DA the Manhattan DA and the New York Attorney General, who has now just joined on the criminal probe. They've got his taxes now, and I think they're obviously going to let the IRS do its thing. But the understanding is that he's actually probably already, even without owing the IRS any money, in debt for more than his net worth. If that's true, and the IRS comes back and says, you owe us, I think somebody said by the time you consider back taxes, fees, just the flat fees plus the percentages, something like 1.3 billion or something like that. And his net worth currently is probably in the negative. So it's hard to imagine that he can survive that. And I don't think a bankruptcy clears that one. So I think he's going to be in a lot of trouble there. But I had we had done on overtime. We'd done a couple of rundowns on these things, and I genuinely don't remember.
You know, I wondered a few times if maybe he decided to run for president, at least partly, because that way he might be able to wipe out at least some of his debts.
I think that was a part of it, and I think he had a very gross misunderstanding of what it really was. And I thought he thought it was CEO, when he thought once he's there, he can do anything he wants to, which as a CEO he does do. He mistakes reckless behavior for decisiveness, and I think he figured he could get away with it, and I think he figured. I mean, I was a little surprised he didn't go more on the pardons, but the reality is Mueller made it impossible for him to. He can't pardon himself in the states, and Mueller made sure that each state, he worked with each state, so the attorney generals of each state have the information. So he's facing criminal charges in Washington, Virginia, Maryland, Florida now, and there's no pardoning against that. There's just none. So,
one of the pardons that looked like it was just way out of place was Dinesh D'Souza, the guy creationist who debated Christopher Hitchens in the past, and went to prison for tax fraud or something. Do you have any ideas why he might have, what the connection might be there?
I did know at some point. I can't remember. It might be D'Souza had said. One of D'Souza's side projects was really shady. I forget what it was, but it wasn't having anything to do with debating Hitchens or Christianity or anything. He had a side project. It was awfully shady, and Trump just glommed onto it. And oh no, he got convicted of something. What was it? Wow, I don't even remember. Jesus. Anyways, so no, what I'm saying, I am 47 today. So, yay. Just had to as of 2 hours ago. So yay, 47. I'm reaching the big 50 soon.
Well,
Happy
I
birthday.
think I'm gonna
Thank you.
call it here in about 5 because we'll be at 2 hours.
Well, that's pretty good.
Does that sound good to you guys?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's your
Really,
stream. We'll definitely go along with it. Not a problem. Yeah.
I think we got to almost 18 or almost 20 viewers this time. I think it was about at 18. I'm pretty sure we scared off Erica with the tool talk, but I'm definitely excited about interviewing her on my channel. So I'm going to have to start writing up some questions. Did you guys see the interview I did with Aaron?
That's been coming highly recommended. I saw bits and pieces of it, and I thought that was really excellent, high-quality interviewing. I'm looking forward to seeing more interviews like that from you.
I'm really proud of it, honestly. Like I told Aaron, Nick, did you see it or part of it?
I did not. I've heard nothing but good things, and I also caught pieces of it. But the general gist of it, as I understand it, was that was your very first interview ever, and other than just sort of your own little nervousness, which apparently you controlled beautifully, from what I understand. Other than that,
Aaron makes it easy.
He is a magnanimous guest. Just a magnanimous person in general, but I don't sell yourself short. My understanding was you had good questions and you really kept it interesting. I heard you batted like a pro for your first one out, so that's what I heard.
Yeah, well, I have done some interviews here and there on my channel, but certainly Aaron was the biggest YouTuber by far. He literally has 10 times as many subscribers as I do, or probably more than that, like probably 100. Or yeah, definitely a lot. He has orders of magnitude more subscribers than I do. But I was writing out my questions before I even knew the interview had been confirmed. So I like to prepare ahead of time if I can. But I appreciate Randolph, what you were saying, because one of the things that I noticed was towards the end of the interview, Aaron really opened up to me and told me some personal details and personal stories about his life. Some of them were, kind of harrowing and made me feel kind of bad for Aaron, like some trauma he had gone through. And Aaron, when he was talking, he would say something, and then he would give these long pauses, and before he would start talking again. And you can see in that interview, one of the things I'm glad that I did is that I just stayed quiet during those pauses, and I would just let Aaron keep talking. But I know that there are some people who, if they're interviewing somebody, they they might not be able to control themselves, and they're going to want to jump in and say something during those pauses, or they might feel uncomfortable, like it's dead air. But there's definitely a difference between dead air and just like a dramatic pause. And I'm glad that, you know, I sort of let him just keep going, you know, because I think people open up to you when they can tell that you're really listening and you're not just waiting for your turn to speak. So
Yeah, no, that's a very important style. Like we see that with professional interview shows like 60 Minutes. They have high quality interviewers on there too. So you definitely did the awesome thing, as Amy Newman here is saying, that you did awesome. It's that when I interviewed Neil, the 604 atheist, I was the first person to be on his program who doesn't have a deconversion story, because I've always been an atheist. And so April 1st was coming up, and so he's thinking, like, how can I bring you on? I want to bring you on. And I said, okay, here's an idea. Because I asked him, has anybody ever asked you your deconversion story? He says, no. And I said, okay, well, here's an idea. Promote it for April 1st as having a mystery guest. And you will end up being the mystery guest. I'll just be a temporary host. And so it was an interesting twist, and it went well. I prepared questions ahead of time, just like what you're saying that you did. And and then, of course, I let Neil know what I'm going to be asking about, and asked him if there's anything that he'd like to make sure we cover. And so we made sure that would be. And the reason I think it's okay to do that is because when you're interviewing someone, when they're if they know what questions are coming beforehand, then they'll be better prepared to provide higher quality answers, and the audience gets a lot more out of it as well. And so, and then of course that feeling of trust comes more naturally that way too. I think that you were talking.
I would agree.
Yeah, and so when I talked with Neil, I was kind of letting him answer stuff, and I just quiet and let him talk, and it was it worked out really well. So what you're saying kind of reminds me of what I did with Neil. And so, but I'm not as smooth. I have more rough edges than you do. So, yeah. And the Quiet Gorilla here is somebody I know. He's a smart guy. He's got lots of good insights to share, and he's saying it was well done. So that's also important praise from someone like him.
Yeah, that strikes me as high praise, and I'll say this: that's something I'm still struggling with, is letting that silence. And for me, it's a learned skill, and it sounds like it's something that you've got. And I think if that's something that you've got and you hold on to, I'm impressed. I'm not good at it.
When I have the studio finished, I'm going to be running an interview program where I interview atheists about various topics, and so of course I'd like to have you guys on as well, separately, of course. But I'm going to be seeing how this goes. So, and you're already way ahead of me here, Atheist Junior, because you're already doing it.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to say thank you so much, Amy, for your comment in the chat. And I'm curious to ask Amy or Randolph, I know you've seen part of it, but I was wondering if you thought like the questions that I asked, if they seemed like they were scripted, or if I was just sort of asking stuff off the cuff, because this is something that me and Peter talked about.
Like, to me, it didn't look like it was scripted.
Okay, that's interesting, because I literally every single question I asked him, I had written out and printed out on a piece of paper and wrote ahead of time. So sorry, my phone.
Well, like I say, I haven't seen the whole thing. I've only seen little bits and pieces, but it sounded like a normal conversation to me.
Yeah, because when Peter, after the interview was done, when Peter told me that he thought that my questions sounded really natural, I was surprised, because I was like, yeah, I literally scripted everything I asked him. Like, but what I did in preparation with the questions was I had written the questions out, and then I looked at the questions, and I looked at which ones I figured would logically follow one after the other, and then I paired those questions with each other. And I think that's why, like, if you see the whole thing, you'll see that there's a nice flow to the interview. Like we start off talking about like the Texas snowstorm, and then Aaron brings up like the the 4-wheel drive Jeep that he has, and how like that was a good thing to have during the snowstorm because he could drive over curbs and stuff like that. And then after that, I asked a few questions about that, and then I asked him about him going to South Africa to dig for fossils, which the whole reason that he got that Jeep was because they had to carry a really heavy fossil to the car because the cars that they had at the time, the trucks, didn't have off-road tires. So he bought the Jeep so that he could, the next time he goes for fossils, he can drive right up to where the fossil is. And so like it kind of paired back with the first question I asked. And I was able to do that more than once throughout the interview, which it was kind of like it came full circle with like one of the very last questions I asked him with that like second question I asked about him going on a fossil hunt. So I was happy about that. Like I'm honestly really proud of the interview. I feel like it couldn't have gone better. And I was nervous. I wasn't nervous about talking to Aaron. I was nervous about having technical difficulties or something going wrong that I couldn't control, which didn't happen, thank God. And Peter did a great job of producing it.
Thank God. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah.
Thanks,
There
Peter.
you go. Really?
That's a
Really?
technical problem.
Well,
Yeah,
and
I
good for
thought-
you.
it sounds like you did everything
scripting
right.
it.
Sorry, it sounds like you did everything right, and it turned out to be a successful show. And all these people giving you great accolades here. Like here's Vesta Freja saying in the chat, Atheist Junior, it was very well done, and you got Aaron Raw to become very relaxed in the interview. And that's, you've got a good flow going. You've put the questions in a logical order like that. And I'll tell you, I know what his favorite vehicle is. Because when he was here in BC a few years ago visiting the BC Humanists, I met him there. He and his wife were both at the restaurant after the meeting, and with lots of humanist members and chatting and just casual conversation. And then, of course, his hotel is in the same city I live in, so I offered him and his wife a ride back to their hotel. And so he gets in the vehicle and he says, "This is my favorite vehicle." Well, I drive a Suburban. So the Suburban is his favorite vehicle.
Like the 9-passenger limo Suburban he used to have?
I do have that.
Oh, okay. I
That's what I drive.
thought you were talking about Aaron for a second because I know he had a huge like Suburban a few like years ago that he was talking about in a video. But
the extended model, and that's what I've got too. That's what I've got too.
How many people can fit in that car?
If we normally 8 very easily, including the driver, and there's a 9th seat that folds down right in front of the radio console. I don't use that for people. I think would be very tight between their knees and the radio controls, so I don't use that as a seat, but it could be used as a seat if needed. So technically it can hold 9, but normally 8 is kind of the limit there. And there's still lots of room in the back for everybody's bags if you're taking them all to a hockey game or the airport or whatever. So it's a great vehicle. I really like it, and it's best vehicle I've ever owned. But he was raving about how he loves these vehicles for a good couple of minutes there. So yeah, I know it's his favorite. So I was really happy that he liked the vehicle I was driving him in. It was a nice chat with him and his wife. They're very nice people. I like both of them a lot. And it's I think because he goes to so many of these events, his memory of this is faded. But it was one fun part of it too for me was we're driving along and it's late at night, so on the main streets there's 3 lanes on each side, and the outer lanes it's okay for people to park after 7 p.m. And so they so there's cars parked there, and he's like, "What the heck? Why are people parked? This is a main street." And because apparently it's not like that in Texas. So yeah, he kind of surprised him. Yeah. So it was good. He gave me some beers because he couldn't take all this alcohol in the airplane with him. So
I hate to cut everybody off, but I'm going to get going because I'm exhausted and I'm going to try to actually be functioning for tomorrow. So
good night,
today,
Nick.
as it were. But
look forward to talking with you again.
Yeah, let's catch up. Atheist Junior, good luck and good job, and I look forward to catching up with everybody soon.
Yeah, and I will say real quick, Nick, one thing that we share in common is that I also have blue eyes.
Oh, well then.
Oh, really?
and rename this to the blue baby blue eyes stream.
Wow, who would have thought?
All right. Well, thank you all very much, and I'll catch up with you guys later.
Yeah.
Bye, Nick.
See you later, Nick.
So yeah, thank you for opening us up for people to join in and chat. This was great, and I'm looking forward to listening to your interview with Aaron Raw. It's coming highly recommended to me, so by a number of people. So congratulations.
Honestly, I've watched it back because me and Peter watched it because he didn't really get the chance to listen to it because he was producing and maintaining like the chat while I was talking to Aaron. But really the time flew by when I was talking to him, and I know that Aaron was relaxed, but I will say that the 2 beers he had during the interview may have helped a little bit as well. But the nice thing about Aaron is that once you ask him a question, like he'll just go talking for like 10 minutes, and he has so many great stories and anecdotes that I think you'll enjoy it, you know? So
I like Aaron Raw's presentation, so I'm sure I will. It's I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think you can DM me on Discord. I think I have you on Messenger on there, so you can let me know after you watch it, because I'm, I love getting feedback about my videos.
Yeah, after my debates, I'll get them into MP3 format and listen to them in my truck while I'm driving around to client sites or wherever. And I find that to be quite helpful because I listen back on it and I'm thinking, why did I answer that question that way? I probably should have done it this way. Mental note for next time. So, yeah, it sounds like you're doing pretty much the same thing. And I think this is the mark of somebody who takes it seriously and really does want to continue to develop their skill in whatever, like for you, for interviewing, for me, for debates, and get better at it over time. So that's good that you're listening back on it.
Yeah. I said in the chat that I was talking to Erica earlier today, and she's going to be the next person that I talk to, which I think is also going to be great. And then I would love to talk to Amy Newman as well after that. So I think that'll definitely be something that we work out the details on. So there'll be some good content to look out for on my channel. And I wanted to stream tonight because I knew Amy Newman was off. So I said that I'm producing the dollar store version of Midnight Renting. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna end it here because my computer is running low on battery anyway.
Okay, I put something in the private chat for you, but good night and thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you, and thank you to everybody in chat and to all the people watching. And I'll see you later. Look out for the interviews and other videos coming out on my channel. I'm putting out new content all the time. So thanks.